Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevena Bajalac, welcoming you once again to the podcast where we help you grow and scale your business. And today with me, we have another incredible entrepreneur, a guest coming to us from US, and he has very interesting story. His name is Jack Clark, and Jack grew up in a small town in Montana, and he grew up on a small ranch and his family had several small businesses. However, he started his entrepreneurship journey and he built a very successful company called 180 Water and in a very interesting way. So we're going to hear his story and learn from his experience. So Jack, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
It is amazing. So tell us a little bit your background. Actually, tell us what 180 Water does for people. And then we're going to go back. How did you get the idea and how you grew? You're growing now to franchising, to multiple franchises and having a big goal, right? Where you guys want to be in the future. But what do you exactly do in your business? Can you explain to the listeners?
Yeah, so we service and maintain water wells. So we ensure that people have access to clean and safe drinking water is our primary focus. If you're turn on your tap and there's no water there, we're the guys that come out and make sure that the pump and everything is working. So like where we're at in the U.S., we're really spread out, and so we have a lot of different water wells, and so there's a big gap in the market of people that can't have access to reliable water, and so we come in and put together systems and service them. Yeah.
That is so interesting for me. I'm currently last year moved to island of Zanzibar of Tanzania, and I have my own land and building some Airbnbs. That's why I moved here. So here everyone is building their water well. They have their own supply of water. So every house, every hotel. But being in Europe, being in Dubai 10 years before this, like nobody is doing that. So I was very surprised because I didn't knew that actually United States people have problem with supply of water because we assume, I guess I assume that there is like a city water, that there is good supply. So, what is actually the situation in the States, and when did you saw the opportunity for business in this area?
Yeah. So I mean, kind of the situation is, I mean, we have a lot of rural water systems, and then like even our subdivisions and stuff are still based on groundwater sources. Even our cities and everything are a lot of groundwater sources, and um, so even when they're in town and stuff like that, I mean, we're still, pumping all out water, and so all of those things take maintenance, all those moving parts take service, and so we're taking care of those, and then we're doing a lot too in the cities and with the towns, to remove chlorines and contaminants and make sure that you have the cleanest drinking water possible.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I never knew about that. I never actually got any information. So it's a great learning for all of us. And what did you do before you studied, right? And what happened after? How did you start as entrepreneur? Was this your first business or you started something before?
Yeah, so this is my first business, and I've always just kind of stuck with it, kind of a one track kind of guy. And I mean, there's been a lot of subsets to what I've done, but it's always been water. And I've always been interested in water. I mean, even from the time I was a child, I always just, I don't know, had a connection with it, and so sometimes you just have to follow that. And so that kind of led me into the water well industry. And I started drilling when I was 19 and kind of built that up. And then, trained drillers, trained employees. And so we have 20 guys that work in my current company that work, drilling and servicing water wells. And so since then, we got into the franchise model. I mean, we expanded pretty rapidly, like in 2020, 2019. And, I had two locations and 35 employees and was really spread thin and running hard. And it wasn't an enjoyable time for me. You know what I mean? Like it was just too much. And it wasn't allowing me to be, the best husband, the best dad, the best boss that I could be. And so we kind of scaled it back, and then we had the issue of like, but our clients still need service. And all these people in these rural little towns in Montana still need a water well guy. And like the age of the water well guys is like 65 on an average. And so they're wonderful, but they're not getting the same amount of work done that they did when they were 30. And so we have this big gap where people might go 2 weeks without getting their water well turned back on or serviced. And so that's where we came up with the franchise model is like, how do we allow these people to be excellent family men and be a part of their communities and build a life, but and service all these clients. So yeah,
Yes, and what is the
independently owned
goal
and
now?
operated.
Yeah, what is the goal now? How many franchises you want to have? Are you only in the United States, or you guys want to expand outside of states as well?
Yeah, so we're primarily focused on the states right now, and then we're just expanding across the nation right now. And obviously, as we grow, there becomes more and more light shine on other areas that are having similar issues that we do here in the stateside. And so, I mean, I'm sure it's going to go there someday, And but we're getting really good at what we're doing now, and so it's going to make it a lot easier to kind of take those steps whenever necessary. So.
Y- Congratulations. That's great. You sounded very easy, like doing the business sounds very easy. Can I ask you challenges early on to get maybe to get your first customers? What was the biggest, maybe not even customers were biggest challenge, maybe some approvals were the challenge. Like what are the challenges you had and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, I used to worry about a lot of things, and then, like when you start a business, I mean, you worry about every customer and every problem and everything. And, I kind of had a realization early in my career that I'm going to just wake up and do the absolute best I can. And like, that's all I can do. Like, if I wake up and I give it my all, I can lay down in bed at night knowing that I gave it my all. And so, like, that was a big realization for me that kind of allowed me to shed some of that stress and really be able to expand my career is being, hey, Jack, did you wake up and give it everything you had? Yes, I did. Okay, then lay down and enjoy your night of rest. Like, you don't need to toss and turn, because that's all we can do at the end of the day is give it everything we got. So,
So any specific challenges that you like remember, like maybe with customers or something that's interesting story to share with all the entrepreneurs listening?
oh, I mean, I'm a big right people in the bus in the right seats, and so I
Mm,
rearrange my employees a lot. Like I'm everybody has value and everybody has a purpose, and so I'd say nah, a lot of my employees have probably came in the door thinking that they were going to do one job, and we have moved them around into different jobs. So we have a lot of cross training and a lot of things like that. But in terms of stories, oh man, I mean, we've done it all from you know drilled big water wells to 2,500 feet in the ground to you know servicing rural communities across all of Montana, I would say almost at this point, and do a lot of solar work. Those are really kind of fun projects when you know you get a
yeah.
lot of people that are concerned. So, but when I was early in my career, I had mentorship has always been a big part of what we've done here, and I'd say probably one of the best stories I have is I bought a drill rig from a guy and had trouble with a well and it ended up caving in and sticking my bit in the ground, and so I had to call in old Frank, and Frank came up. He was the guy that had the drill rig before me and came up to give me a hand to see if there was anything that could be done. And so Frank drove up in his pickup and we fired up the rig, and he jumped on those controls and threw it forward, threw it in reverse, revved it all the way up, pinned everything out, and reached up, shut the key off, and looked me dead in the eye and said, "Jack, you drinking man?" I said, "No, no, Frank, I'm not really a drinking guy. I eat a little bit too much when I'm stressed out." He just said, "Well, you're going to be a fat effer," and got in his truck and left. And so that's kind of the mo of the drilling industry. Is like that's the way it's learned and that's the way it's done, and it's learned of hard knocks. And I've had a lot of hard knocks in my career, and I hope that we can help lessen those blows and get a little bit more advice than that. But that one stuck with me. I've never forgotten that mentorship that I got from Frank that day. So
Yeah, I mean, some mentors shorter with us, some are longer, but sometimes it's just one sentence or one advice that really help us. So we're going to hear advice from you later on towards the end of the episode. But I would love to ask a lot of entrepreneurs, people that are starting and growing their business, they're always looking for more clients, which usually includes some kind of marketing. So in your industry, what worked for you? Of course, marketing is very much can be different in different industries. What worked for you? What approach, what strategies or tactics you use to start getting more customers, clients, to spread the word? What was it for you? And in Montana where you started, and then spreading outside to other states. How did you guys do it?
Being humble and thankful, I would say. Like a lot of what we do is word of mouth. You know what I mean? But like you get a client that you genuinely, take your hat off, look them in the eye, and shake them and thank them for the job. They remember that, and that's a powerful moment for them and for you. And to kind of have that, spread and flurry. They might have a son-in-law that lives 3 states away, and they're like, "I met this amazing water well guy, and I think you need to be a part of what he has going on." And being really open and honest with people really has kind of made it much easier for us to be able to market. And it's not an uphill battle when everybody shares their stuff on Instagram and Facebook and on all of those other platforms, that it becomes very organic marketing. And the water well industry, we don't have to do a lot because it's one of those industries that is in such dire need that we don't have to get crazy with our marketing. Like we run some Google stuff and make sure our SEO and everything is dialed in, but like really, we need to answer our phone and show up for our clients, and they'll take care of us.
Yeah, the best providing the best service is always the best way to market yourself. However, of course, there are different industries and competition in some industries and some locations. It's very different. So yeah, that's absolutely depending where you are and which industry are you working in. But that's always the best. Doing the best
Yeah.
service, being the best, being humble, and just keep that relationship. So the clients can recommend you to their friends and family and so on. So
And build a crew that backs you up. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I was able to go out and deliver to those clients because, if you called me and said I have to have water by Friday or by Monday, I knew that my guys would deliver on that. So I can say, yes, sir, we'll be there, we'll get it on line, and even if we have to be out there till midnight, we're going to get it done. And to have that support from your crew and to be standing there in the trenches with them, shoulder to shoulder, to make that thing happen is really what allows your sales team to sell because they know that they can deliver. And so when you start to take that confidence away from your sales team, that's where you start to have issues. So back your sales teams up is the biggest advice I think I can say. And that's when it gets fun too. And your sales team needs to be a part of that too. They can't just overpromise and spread your guys thin. So our guys work in the field and in the office to make sure that we have side to side accountability.
yeah, I love that. So your sales team has to be supported by implementation. So everything they say or sell or promise to the customer, it's actually being delivered. So Jack, I love to ask this question. If you can go back maybe to your beginnings, and there is one thing that you wish you knew back then or you knew earlier that you believe it will help you grow your business faster, what would it be? What is one thing that maybe you wish you knew earlier or something very important that you learned on the journey?
Yeah, I think a big part of it for me is comes back to mentorship, and just being true to yourself. And so I think it's just a matter of time when you find those mentors. And I think, you know, finding those mentors in your early career is really important. They might not even be in the same industry or anything like that, but if you show up and you're the first guy on the job site and the last one to leave, those things get noticed and then they start to build. And so if you can just be your really true, authentic self and work hard and deliver with the right attitude and right, work ethic, so then, you find those mentors. And I think I was very fortunate to do that early in my career. And it's
Yeah.
been had a really big lasting impact on me that, you never really have a direction until you find that guy that says, hey, this is your direction. This is your North Star. This is where you're headed. This is what you can do. This is what you can be. And those guys are a huge leg up because it shines a light on your path.
Yeah, mentorship is so important. And every successful person I interview, even myself, I really believe in mentorship and consulting in general. Like having someone, it cuts the path so much, and it's so helpful. Like you get the experience, you get the knowledge, but I think it has to be also aligned. So how did you usually look for mentors, or in your case, they kind of showed up in the right time, at the right place? How was it
Yeah.
for you? I mean, I believe you still have some kind of mentors. You always have someone to learn from and expand. So, how was it for you? Did you look purposefully for mentors, or you believe it was more of being at the right time at the right place?
Well, it's easy, I mean, I think everybody's a mentor in one way or another. I really believe that
Mhm.
everybody has something to offer, and that you can learn something from anyone. And so your mentorship might come from, anybody you might meet on the street. So I think just keeping an open mind, you know what I mean? It might not be the guy driving the nicest pickup, but it's the guy that's learned to live within his means and run his company responsibly. And so you don't know who that mentor might be. And so I think just staying humble and asking the right questions, you might be surprised by the answers you get,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Being keen, wanting to learn, and like you said, being humble and always asking for, advice. Or I think ego is destroying more businesses than anything else. Like when people believe they know everything and they're the best. And of course, you have to have the confidence. And like you said, I know I'm giving the best I can. I'm excellent at this, but not in
Yeah.
a way having that ego where, oh, I don't want anyone advice or I don't want to listen to anyone. And I think that kind of mindset is very important.
Yeah, and rely on your people. You know what I mean? If you have
Yeah.
employees and stuff, they can be wonderful mentors in your life too. I mean, my guys have done a fantastic job. I mean, they're all way smarter than me and do a way better job than I do. And
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to work around such great people. So
I think the secret of your success is hiring. They always say hire people smarter than you. Like you said,
yeah,
if
and
you
I mean,
hire people actually smarter than you, that's like gonna build your
yeah, and
company.
it's intimidating. It's intimidating to
Yeah.
move out of their way. I mean, even on a day to day basis, and and just be, know that you're doing it for the right reasons, and that it doesn't need to shake your confidence that somebody's better at your job than
Yeah,
you are. The fact that they
absolutely.
are means that you're doing something right to attract the right people, to have people that are better than you.
Yeah.
And so that's a really, it's a good ego check to have those guys come in and go, man, you can run this thing way better than I can. And I love it when you get the guys that aren't qualified to do the job, and you sign them up for the job because you know they can do it, and that is such a powerful moment in their life. And then to watch them just go in and crush it is one of the coolest things a guy can experience. And we see that a lot with 180 Water. People come in nervous about starting their own business, and then 6 months later they ask you to, how do you ever keep up? How do I get to truck two, truck three? And so it's really cool to watch them come through and absolutely crush it. And we're very fortunate here at 180 to be, have a front row seat for that. So
Yes, I agree. That's always even more rewarding, I believe, when people can grow in our company and people can
yeah,
develop and you see something in people that maybe they don't see in themselves and you believe. And I had people who believed in me when I didn't know how much I can do. So that was always so empowering as well. So, Jack, as we're wrapping up the episode, I want to ask you one last advice for anyone who's trying to build their business. Something that maybe we didn't mention in this discussion so far in this conversation. What is something you would advise anyone who's trying to build business? Be on their own, be independent. Entrepreneurship is hard. It's not for everyone. So, what would you say to people who are out there working hard and hustling every day?
yeah, I think a big part of that is making sure that you never feel stuck. There's always a path forward. I think the water well industry, I could have sat back and told customers no and sat around my office, but there's always a path forward. You know what I mean? I mean, water well industry is an extremely hard thing to scale, but we found an out of the box way of thinking that has really meshed and really worked for us. And so I just invite people to think outside the box and think bigger. You know, I mean, I never dreamt from a town of 1,800 people in Montana that I would ever be, even on a podcast. let alone building a nationwide company, you know? And so it's just always think bigger, always dream bigger, and it's not going to hurt anything to think outside of the box, you know? And some of your best ideas might seem crazy on paper.
I love that. And I love the idea, stop thinking that you're stuck, because I think that's really an obstacle, like mindset obstacle when we feel that way or we believe we are stuck and we don't know how to move forward. Sometimes you just have to move and get out of your place, get out there, speak with people, see what's happening, go for a walk. You maybe discover something in your neighborhood. So just get into action and the new ideas will flow. So thank you, Jack, so much for being here today. I enjoyed this conversation very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
It was a pleasure. I want to invite everyone to please subscribe, download the episode, and share it with at least one more entrepreneur that's going to benefit. And leave us comments and email us what other topics you would like us to cover, what would you like to know and learn more about building and scaling your business. Thank you once again for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.